So, gentlemen, we are going to now start talking about why are we doing TCA, and we're going to get into a little bit more of the gory elements. So, what is an entrepreneur? And that's where I want to start. We use that term a lot. We've changed our center from the Entrepreneurship Center to the Eagle Startup Center. Entrepreneur is nothing more than a fancy word, a French word that nobody can spell for startup. Okay? That's all it means. The term entrepreneur wasn't even a common term until about 2000. Prior to that, everybody referred to them as startups. I'm just going back to that because I'm tired of you guys misspelling entrepreneurship, and I can't spell it either. So we're just going to focus on what is an entrepreneur. Now, a little of my background. So I started working on lead-acid batteries for electric vehicles during my PhD. I helped work on GM's first electric car called the EV1. It was actually sold, worked on it under the name of Impact. General Motors, when they start a new car, that's a startup. Okay? When Boeing does a new plane, that is a startup. When Intel starts a new chip, that's a startup. You're given a budget, a set of milestones, and you need to accomplish those milestones within that budget. There's no difference between that and a startup. You have X amount of money, you need to be to a certain point by a certain time, or you're broke, right? There's no difference between those. So during that development, we got the car done and had a very uncomfortable meeting with the vice president at General Motors because he said, the problem with your car is that there's only two moving parts in the entire drivetrain, that being the bearing on each end of the electric motor. You got rid of the fuel pump, the water pump, all the belts, the air cleaner, the oil. Everything that they'd made money on were those items. General Motors loses $15,000 on every single vehicle they sell, and they make it up on aftermarket parts, sales, and service. That's where they make their money. It's not on the car itself. And they said in order to sell an electric car, they said we have to sell our sedans at $30,000 a piece because that's what the market will pay in the 90s. They said in order to sell them, they need to sell them for $80,000 to $90,000 in order to make their money. What did Elon Musk start selling his Teslas for? $90,000 to $100,000. Why? Because that was already been proven by General Motors as the price point of what you can sell them for. So that startup got killed, and they killed it because they said, number one, your battery will now go 1 million miles before it needs to be replaced. We need to get rid of your battery, which I just spent 6 years developing. And your motor's never going to wear out. They said 250,000 miles, and then we have to change out the bearings. And then the motor will last another 250,000 miles. That was it. That's the only service. They were not pleased with the fact that they wouldn't make any money. So they killed it, right? I then went and joined a startup, which is actually at the startup phase. I was the 8th employee at ISR, which is a small startup that started in 1993 as a result of Don Tilton's PhD dissertation. He developed most of the concepts during his PhD. He and his brother were working out of the garage in Seattle. They hired one employee to work with them in the garage, and the three of them moved to the old grocery store in Colton, Washington. Why? Because his wife's family owned it. And he bought the old grocery store for $12,000. And so they were off to running. And my first job there was starting to write SBIR grants. I've written a bunch of SBIR grants, and that funded the entire company for many years. Okay, that company grew eventually to where by 2005, we made the S&P 500's fastest growing companies in the United States. We had 500 employees at that point. Okay, we just got in a $35 million contract. I accused him of using what's called warm blood pulse HR, meaning if you have a pulse, you were hired. They didn't do any screening. And we switched from military product to civilian product. Well, the problem was our technology was way too advanced for the civilian market, and there was no need for it. And so I disagreed with the board. I was currently at that point managing a quarter of the company and quarter of the revenue, and it was all military. And so I left because they said we were going to terminate all the military contracts and just do civilian. And so we were offered $90 million in 1999 by Parker Hannifin, and they sold out in 2013 to Parker Hannifin for $3 million because they'd ran the company in the ground. What happened? Some investors came in, and those investors wanted to go commercial. And they offered big money to buy into the company, and they changed the direction of the company to the worst. The founders, we were all pushed out. Even the two brothers who started the company were pushed out of the company because they disagreed with us that they should stay military. If they had stayed military, oh, by the way, what did Parker Hannifin buy it for? To get the one military contract that I'd signed in 2000 that was still going in 2013. 13 years later, it was still going. And by the way, that's the whole reason they bought the company, was to get that contract. So when we're looking at that, was that a successful company? Yeah, from 1995 to 2013, it kept a lot of people's families bread on the table. And at one point, with 500 employees, we were feeding 500 families. That's a success. Success doesn't mean that you sell the business for hundreds of millions. Success means you maintained a revenue stream enough to pay your bills, and you could live on it. Yes.
Oh, so profit.
Yeah, we were making profit. We made enough profit to pay people, and our company grew. It doesn't, everybody goes, oh, success is when you get bought out. No, success is you ran that company for 10 years, and 10 years you had a revenue stream on it. Now, I did consulting when I went to Gonzaga after I left ISR, and some of the freshmen that went with me yesterday, I did consulting on a number of different companies, but one of them was doing consulting with the waste energy plant, and we had a lot of fun doing that. My consulting business brought in an extra $50,000 a year. They don't pay us engineering professors squat, so that was actually really nice. I had a nice revenue stream coming off the consulting. Was that a successful business?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I disliked Gonzaga and working there, and we won't get into the politics because we're being recorded. Ask me later. All right, when we're looking at why I left and because somebody offered me $300,000 to go back to doing what I'd done before. One of the investors from the ISR days said, why are you wasting your life at Gonzaga? I'll give you $300,000 to go start another company. I said, what do you want me to do? He goes, I don't care. Go start another company. So I did. Why was I asked to do that?
That investor knew your track record with starting a company, being able to maintain revenue, and being able to set good foundations for a long-term company.
Yes.
And that's all the important
he
stuff.
just knew, okay, I made money off you guys. You took ISR and you grew it from 8 people. You ran a quarter of the business and grew it up and then up to 500 people, okay? And then, unfortunately, certain people got involved, but we learned that lesson, okay? So I then started Ag Energy. So where do you come up with your ideas? How did I come up with Ag Energy?
Government patent or something, if I remember correctly. It was like an old one or something.
No, that's after I decided that's where I was going.
History books.
History Channel. I was watching a documentary on how they generated diesel fuel in Nazi Germany after we kept blowing up all their oil fields. How did they continue to have oil? And this is a whole story about Romania. And in Romania, they built a whole bunch of gasifiers, and we're gasifying the forest and using that to condense it using the Fischer-Tropsch process and making liquid diesel. Any of you guys ever buy any Fischer-Tropsch product? Yes, you have. You ever buy any Coleman fuel for camping? Everybody white kerosene? Those white fuels are made from wood through the Fischer-Tropsch process. Okay? Any of you have ever gone to Gasworks Park in Seattle? Gasworks Park is this big, huge park with a big, giant gasifier in it. That's what produced all the heating and cooking fuel in Seattle from 1890s through 1950. By taking wood and coal, gasifying it, you generate what's called city gas or synthesis gas, which is CO and hydrogen gas. And you combine those together, that is 90% the energy of methane. So you can then actually produce out of coal and wood the gas that went to all the homes. And in the 1950s, we found all the natural gas under the ground. So instead of being city gas, it was natural gas. Do you guys follow it? Producer's gas is another term that was used for it. producer gas, or you have natural gas. That's where that term natural gas comes from. So they then use that in the same distribution lines. So now you have natural gas cooking your stove, running your heater, heating your hot water, right? How about Spokane? Do we have it here? You guys see those big smokestacks downtown Spokane? They're part of a steam plant. That wasn't a steam plant. That was a that was a gasification plant making producers gas and pumping it all over Spokane until the 1950s. Okay? From 1895, if I remember correctly, through the 1950s, that's where everybody in Spokane got their home heating, their natural gas, their producer gas that they used to cook with, heat their water with, and heat their houses with. And then they switched it over to natural gas and shut down the steam plant when natural gas became available. Okay? So the History Channel pointed out that that process, we go through a platinum catalyst and you have liquid fuel. And that is where we get our synthesis gas, our Coleman fuel, and we get our white kerosene. Why do we not use natural kerosene or diesel fuel in our homes for heating?
Does it create soot and smoke?
And the soot and smoke is coming because some of it's not controlled exactly the same chain length. The reason that stuff is white is because it is only C9. Okay? So it's 9 carbons with hydrogen around it. And gasoline and the white kerosene, or the white gas, that Coleman fuel, has only got 6 carbons and hydrogen around it, nothing else. But when you look at natural diesel, it's a whole blend of a lot of stuff, but the average is 9, and then there's some really heavy stuff and some light stuff and some other stuff that's not even straight chain. And all of those esters are then what create the black smoke, and those, a lot of them will produce benzene rings, which are toxic to you, so you don't want to breathe diesel fuel. Okay? But breathing white kerosene is fine. So I knew, okay, these processes are there. Where is there a biomass that I can get hold of around here?
Tree.
No, trees are too valuable.
Okay.
Clean green recycling?
No, wheat straw. We have 1 million acres of wheat around here, and the farmers are going out and doing 7 extra passes, adding extra fertilizer to get rid of the dumb wheat straw. There's too much of it. In the 60s, a wheat was only 1.5 feet tall. Now it's up to 4 or 5 feet tall, and you got all that straw. And you have to get rid of this year's straw before you put next year's crop in. So farmers are baling up the straw. By the way, most of them are selling it to China for cattle feed. We use it for bedding here because it has no value. The Chinese are buying it because they can get it for nothing, and they add chemical nutrients to it and feed it to their cows. They just need some roughage to feed the cows. All right, but we said we can take that stuff and convert it into diesel fuel. So we started down that path. And our first analysis showed that I could produce diesel fuel for $15 a gallon in production. Should I produce it?
No.
Not yet.
No, not yet. I can't compete yet. Okay? But I found it, I had that syngas, I ran it to a generator. I could produce electricity at 5 cents a kilowatt hour commercially and make a profit. Does that sound good? What are you guys paying for your electricity today?
I don't know.
Kilowatt.
In Cheney, you're paying about 6.9 cents. If you're in Spokane, you're paying 12 cents. Sound like I can make a profit? Well, we sized it to fit these giant pivot sprinklers. There's happens to be 9,000 of them in Washington State, 125,000 of them nationwide. Does that sound like a big enough market, Owen? Yeah. 5 cents a kilowatt hour, I should do great. Then I found out that Inland Power sells the power to the farmers for 3.4 cents. Crap. But in California, they're charging the farmers 50 cents. I'm moving to California. And that's when we were throwing away all this black stuff that was coming out, this char. And we just called it char. We didn't realize it was called biochar until some farmer came up and says, I'll buy that stuff for you for $1,500 a ton because when I put it back out my wheat fields, it causes me to get a 10% increase in yield. Okay, that sounds pretty good, right? Well, that meant that was the same price as what I could make electricity for. So, hey, now I doubled my profit margin per machine. And then a marijuana grower came up to me and said, well, I really want the stuff, but I'll pay you what I can buy it for online, which is $80 a cubic foot. Okay, we'll sell it to you. We'll put it in 1 cubic foot bags for $80 a cubic foot, because that's $18,000 a ton. Not $1,500 a ton, that's $18,000 a ton. So do you pivot to that product market? Yeah. And what did I do with all the generators? Disconnected them and just flare the gas. Okay, it's not worth running the generators anymore. We're just gonna produce biochar, sell it to the marijuana industry. Problem with the marijuana industry, there's a huge problem with them. What's that?
The problem they're going to forget they bought from last year. I actually had a question from
Yeah.
them.
Because you heard the story before. Yeah, well,
Could you increase the efficiency of your setup if you run the generators and use the generators to power your machines?
they don't take that much power.
Uh,
I have a blower and 3 electric motors.
Gotcha.
Really don't chew up that much power. But yeah, we could increase efficiency that way. What we're trying to do is find a way to make it go directly into a steam turbine, and then we could get rid of the inefficiency of a piston engine.
Gotcha.
That's what we were working on, but trying to find a miniature steam turbine, or miniature natural gas turbine was the issue that we were having for under 300,000. That's the problem. They're about 300,000 a whack. But when we get back to it, yes, you're right. The problem is with the marijuana grows, there's so much THC in the atmosphere. They're not smoking it, but if you walk into those buildings, you get high within a no time flat. Our sales guy, who was 70, went in to try to sell $250,000 worth to the same company that bought $250,000 worth a year before. Asked him, did you make any more money this last year? And he's got a whole big bunch of spreadsheets in front of him. And the guy goes, I have no idea. He pulled the paper out and he goes, well, according to your numbers here, you made an extra $4 million last year by using our product. He goes, damn, we should buy more of that. Yeah, you should. Well, how much do we buy? $250,000 worth. Here's how much you need. And he goes, oh, okay, that's great. How do we get it? We'll bring it. Write me a check, right? So the guy was just out of it. Our sales guy got out to his car, called us up and said, you gotta come get me, I'm hiring a kite. He goes, I can't drive. And he'd only been in there a half hour. The marijuana made so much money, the owners rotate every 2 years and they don't keep records, they don't know what they're doing. We switched to, again, another pivot. We switched to the apple industry where we found we could shorten the time. It takes 3 years before you can pick an apple after you plant the tree. We cut it down to 2. The grape industry was 3 years and we cut it down to 1. So now we're selling to the grape and apple industry as fast as we can. And then we've also found that, so the thing about adding it to marijuana was that it doubled the yield, okay? Found out that marijuana and hops are in the same family and had the same impact. So the contract they got this last summer was for 10,000 acres of hops outside of Yakima at 5 tons to the acre. But they wouldn't pay $18,000 a ton. They didn't want it, they wanted it by the truckload, not in pallet bags. Sold it to them for $6,000 a ton. And they were happy. Are you guys seeing that what happens with that pivot? Do I have any interest, does the company have any interest in making electricity? No, it's noise. So what I started as an energy company became a biochar company and is doing very well, right? I'm telling you, they're still running. I stepped down in 16 because of a lot of health reasons. And I've been CEO for 10 years, for way too long, 8 years, and I was burned out. So, but I came back and I did some more consulting. So the consulting I did for the next 2 years was helping, but she did bookkeeping for startups, and she had 33 startups she was doing bookkeeping for. But the problem with a lot of them, they didn't know what they were doing. So the program that you're getting is one I developed at that time, which was teaching these companies as a consultant how to go and run a company. They come up with a great idea, but they don't know what they're doing. So we started putting a program. I started putting a program together to train them, and that's been developing since 2016. And it's a very effective program. And the program is about what do you really need to know that first year. I just want to get you through year 1 and get you to the point where you actually are selling a product within a year. That's my goal. Now after that, then you need to go to a higher level. You need to get a board together and all this stuff. But when you're just by yourself, or there's 3 of you and you're running a small company and you're installing garage doors, you don't need a lot. One of our bigger clients at that time said, I'm losing money. I don't know why. I said, because you bought $10,000 worth of makeup last month and you have an inventory right now of $30,000 of makeup product. Order it as people ask for it and have it drop shipped the next day to their house. Don't order it and store it in your garage. Her husband divorced her because of financial mismanagement, and she was kind of going, what do I do? I said, we're going to sell all the stuff in your damn garage. That gets you enough revenue to get through the next 2 months. And then you're going to start drop shipping. She also had 75 services produced by different people within the company, but she billed them all out the same, but she paid everybody different. So she had one young lady that she was paying $20 an hour, and she was paying $50 an hour, but she was the only one that was qualified to do microblading. Okay, guys, any of you guys know what microblading is? Okay, good. Okay, that is where you go and remove all the eyebrows and you tattoo them back on. I'm not joking. She gets $400 an hour for doing this. I said, why are you not spending 100% of your time doing that when you gave a woman a facial the other day, which she only paid 20 bucks for? You lost money by giving that facial. Well, she was an old friend of mine. I don't care. Give it to the lady that you're paying $20 an hour to do that facial. You just do microblading. You do nothing but microblading at $400 an hour because you're the only one trained to do it. Does that make sense? It's just, as a beautician, she didn't understand the basics of economics. Didn't understand the basis of, and I said, you have 75 services. Stop that. Get it down to the ones that are making money and screw the rest of them. She goes, well, people are asking for them. How often have you done this? Which was, the one I was pointing to was having the hair removed from the knee down. She goes, well, and we went through records 3 times last year. Because ladies, when they have the hair removed, go from the waist down, they don't start at the knee. She goes, well, older ladies only want to go from the knee down and pay less money. I said, you only sold it 3 times, take it off the menu. It's not making you money. And somebody has to go back and figure out all this stuff out. And then she was doing tanning and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, how much money are you making on tanning? Well, not a lot. Get rid of it. There's tanning booths all over the place. Focus on where you're making money. And I said, where do you make your most money? Microblading? And I said, clearance sales. And she goes, clearance sales. I said, where you do a full body hair removal from the chin down. Everything must go. That's why I called it a clearance sale. She asked, that is actually on her menu now. Clearance sale. Everything must go. And yes, they do remove everything. All right, so men and women, trust me. She had a lot of men that came in to do that, especially swimmers.
That's what I was just thinking.
And cyclists. They have everything gone. And I said,
Duncan, you're a swimmer.
what's that?
I was, yeah.
What's that?
Duncan, you're a swimmer?
I was, yeah. They made fun of me, so they didn't do it.
All I'm telling you, gentlemen, is that being able to sit there and understand the businesses and the 33 companies I went through is what helped create this program. And that's what I'm going to teach you guys today over the next 20 weeks. I'm going to go through and use my experience with all those businesses, Bruce Teague's experiences with all of that he trained. And I started working with him in 2019, and then through COVID, and the center suffered through COVID. But by the time COVID ended, I was in charge of the entire thing, and we've been running this continuously. But the focus, as you saw, all these different training sessions I'm providing, we're going to go through each of those. Yes, I can do all of them myself, but I want to bring in and start introducing you to experts. There's a few things that we're going to do today that sound kind of goofy. Going up and writing down all your personal experiences, writing down all your personal skills, and let's keep it focused on your design and business management skills. Last year we got a little sidetracked and people said, well, I'm ADHD, and it's like, no, I don't care about all that stuff. I don't care about your personality problems, okay? I want to know what is your skill set that you can contribute to a company, okay? I also want to know what are your ideas, and then we're going to talk about those ideas and brainstorm and come up with even better ones and go round and round in circles until we come up with the best, most profitable organization of businesses, okay? And then pursue those. Now, when we take a look at the cohort we're creating here, this cohort of people, you're going to help each other through this year. About half the businesses continue on, and students are living off of those businesses. Half of them don't continue on, but they've learned the entrepreneurial mindset, and that is what I'm going to drill into your head, is the entrepreneurial mindset. And they use that, and they go out and they join another entrepreneurship, like I did right out of grad school. 5 guys out there running a company, I'm going to come in and join you. Actually, it was 7. So I was number 8, right? I'm joining these 8 guys that have been running for 2 years, and they're really struggling. They need my skills, right? You will be extremely valuable to any startup because you're going to understand all that. But what if you go out and work for a Boeing? Would they like you? We have your tables right up there.
Awesome, thank you.
Would that be of value to you?
Yeah.
Boeing would love it. Okay? Right now, if you guys finish my program, Sherman Williams came and visited with me at the career fair saying, I need your entrepreneurs. I'm going to hand them a paint store. You'll have all the marketing. They'll do all the bankroll for you. They'll provide you with everything. You just run a paint store and manage a paint store and make money out the paint store. And they'll do all the advertising for you and provide you with all the product. That's why they want entrepreneurs, because you understand what you're doing. You understand how to make money. And that's what we are going to be focusing on. Okay? Consolidated Electric does the same thing. They are 900 centers around the world, and all of them are run by a former entrepreneurial student. That's all they hire. Okay? So you guys have that skill set coming out of here. So either you're going to help somebody start up. Boeing would love you because they'll put you in charge of a division. Here's our new product line. Intel did that whenever they had a new chip. They put together a group of people saying, you got this much time and you got this much money, get me a new chip. And if you don't, you may not be working there anymore. Not a good thing. It puts you on a lot of pressure, right? So, but you guys understand that once we get through this. So once you've tried to get your own startup, keep in mind that I've now had 4 startups. All of them generated me money. All of them helped me stay employed. I didn't sell any of them. That's not our goal. Our goal is to get you employed, get you a revenue stream. Okay. Now, let's go back to my notes here. Why do it? It's addictive. I was on a phone interview this summer and I made a major mistake. I've been helping the Black Chamber of Commerce's in Alabama because they're adopting my program down there to help the young men and women in the high schools. I was talking to the Black Chamber of Commerce on the radio station. They were saying, why do I do this? They said, you seem really passionate about it. You seem really excited about it. I said, it's because it's like crack. I said, you get into it, it's so addictive. Once you get a company up and started, you just keep going. They go, oh crap, I said that on radio, didn't I? And they're both laughing, saying, we'll edit it out, don't worry. I then listened to the program a week later. No, they didn't edit it out, they left it in there. Okay, it is so addictive. Once you've done a startup, here's why it's addictive. You are the CEO, not somebody else. You're building the business up from scratch, not somebody else. And when it grows and gets successful and you're getting a paycheck off of it, that first paycheck, you damn well want to just mount it on the wall and not cash it. But you haven't eaten in 3 weeks, so you'll cash it anyway. But the thing that I'm getting across, that's what that pay by phone is good for, because then you can keep the check and pin it to the wall. I'm just telling you that is addictive. That is because of your effort, not anyone else's. And it's your idea, your baby that took off, not somebody else's. And when people come up to you and say, I love your business, that is really addictive. It's saying, I did well, I created something that people need. And when you're going out there, Catherine couldn't make it today. She said she could try to come next Saturday and talk to you guys about the fingernail company. And when they put their first ad out there, 700 people within 24 hours wanted a set of fingernails. So when we're looking at, suddenly have that big pile of orders coming in. That is because of your creation. That's people confirming you have a good product. I want your product. There's nothing more addictive than that, saying, I'm providing a service that people want. Okay? And then once you've done it once, and you can decide, okay, I can't do this anymore, I'm burned out, I gotta leave, or it's been taken over by people that just don't understand. Then what do?
Make another one.
You do another one. Yeah, so even when I was teaching Gonzaga, I was doing entrepreneurship. Then I did entrepreneurship after that. This is the only time I don't actually have a company running right now. Diverse Business Services still exists, but I'm not consulting on a regular basis. Hey, husband. I'm not consulting on a regular basis because I'm running this, and now I have 5 to 7 companies a year that I'm involved with. So, what is the benefit of being a TCA fellow? Once we get done with the training programs, you still have access to me after you graduate. I still have students contact me on a regular basis. What do we do here? Give us a little advice on how to do this. Lloyd D's asking us 2 years ago, I need better attorneys. Philip Morris wants to buy my product. Okay, well, we're gonna get you some better attorneys who can do a multi-million-dollar deal, okay? So we got in the people that did the Wells Fargo deal, right? Here's attorneys that negotiated Wells Fargo buyout. They did a $100 million deal. They can handle your business, and they did it pro bono. So when we're looking at that, these are the things that this fellowship gets you. It gets you the access to my experience, gets you access to all of the people that you're going to meet. I'm going to give you a lot of connections to industry that you need. I help find you the connections to solve a problem. I got you attorney when you needed one. I didn't help you with the board, but I helped the board for Astria. When we're looking at this, I'll help you with, I think you guys got your own board resolved. So when we look at, you need a board of directors. You need a business pro forma. You need a business formation document or operating agreement. I will give you one that you can tweak and modify, okay? So these are the services that I'm providing for you, okay? So that's why you want to be a TCA fellow. It's the most effective way to get launched off the ground. It is being utilized, not just here, it's being utilized across the United States. I can't talk about the other 2 places that are now talking about it because I'm still in negotiations of what it would take to make that happen. So people are, I presented at USOSB last year, United States Association of Small Business and Entrepreneurs, and my people are begging for me to publish a paper this year. So I'll be publishing a paper on this process because it's working. And when I say working, I mean students are actually launching their business, selling product, and starting to make a living off of it.